The final resting places of celebrities often become sites of pilgrimage, where fans can pay their respects and connect with the stars who touched their lives. But a notable subset of famous people, from actors to musicians, have been interred in unmarked graves, their burial sites devoid of the typical fanfare or monumental tributes. Join Facts First as we present He Was Buried in an Unmarked Grave, Now We Know Why. John Wayne. John Wayne, born Mary and Robert Morrison in 1907 in Winterset, Iowa, was an actor and filmmaker who became a symbol of American masculinity and ruggedness through his roles in Western and war films. His career, spanning over 5 decades, included iconic films like True Grit, The Searchers, and Stagecoach. Wayne battled health issues in his later years, including lung and stomach cancer, which he faced with a stoicism that mirrored his on-screen persona. He passed away in 1979 at age 72 from stomach cancer. Despite his larger-than-life presence in American cinema, Wayne was interred in an unmarked grave in Pacific View Memorial Park in Corona del Mar, California, for 2 decades, before a modest bronze plaque was placed by his family, a decision initially made to protect his resting place from vandalism. Bobby Driscoll. Bobby Driscoll, born in 1937 in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, was a child actor who became Disney's first contracted actor, starring in films like Song of the South and Treasure Island, and providing the voice for Peter Pan. Despite his early success and an Academy Juvenile Award, Driscoll's career dwindled as he aged, and he struggled with drug abuse later on. His final years were marked by financial struggles, arrests, and health issues related to drug use. He died in 1968 at age 31 in an abandoned New York City tenement. His body was unidentified, and he was buried in an unmarked pauper's grave on Hart Island. His mother later identified his remains through fingerprints. John Belushi. John Belushi, born in 1949 in Chicago, Illinois, was a comedian, actor, and musician, celebrated for his vivacious energy and comedic talent. He was a prominent figure in American comedy in the 70s, becoming a star on Saturday Night Live and later transitioning to film with notable roles in Animal House and The Blues Brothers. Despite his professional success, Belushi struggled with substance abuse throughout his career. He died in 1982 at age 33 of a drug overdose at the Chateau Marmont Hotel in Los Angeles. He was buried in Martha's Vineyard in an unmarked grave, a decision made by his family to protect his resting place from potential vandalism or disturbance from fans. Later, a nearby tombstone was erected as a memorial, providing a place for fans to pay their respects without disturbing his final resting place. Bessie Smith. Bessie Smith, born in Chattanooga, Tennessee in 1894, was a blues singer, often regarded as one of the greatest vocalists in the genre. Her powerful and soulful voice and emotionally charged performances earned her the title Empress of the Blues. Her recordings, including Downhearted Blues and Nobody Knows You When You're Down and Out, are considered seminal works in blues music. Her career waned with the onset of the Great Depression, and she faced personal and financial struggles in her later years. She died in 1937 following a car crash, and her death has been shrouded in controversy and myth, with various accounts of the circumstances of her medical care and passing. She was buried in an unmarked grave in Philadelphia's Mount Lawn Cemetery. In 1970, singer Janis Joplin and Juanita Green, who incidentally as a child had done a bit of housework for Smith, funded a tombstone for her. Roy Orbison. Roy Orbison, born in Texas in 1936, was a singer-songwriter celebrated for his powerful voice and emotive ballads, crafting a unique space for himself in the rock and roll era. With hits like Oh Pretty Woman, Crying, and Only the Lonely, Orbison carved out a career defined by both commercial success and critical acclaim. His ability to convey vulnerability and passion through his music rendered him a timeless artist, whose influence permeated beyond the boundaries of genre and era. In his later years, Orbison faced significant personal and professional challenges, including the tragic deaths of his wife and 2 of his children in separate incidents. He experienced a career resurgence in the 1980s, but suffered from health issues, including heart problems. Orbison died of a heart attack in 1988 at age 52. He was interred in an unmarked grave at Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery in Los Angeles, a decision possibly made by the family to maintain privacy and tranquility in his final resting place. George C. Scott. George C. Scott, born in 1927 in Virginia, was an actor and director whose career spanned theater, film, and television. He was renowned for his intense, dynamic performances and is perhaps best remembered for his portrayal of General Patton in the film Patton, for which he won an Academy Award but famously refused it due to his disdain for competition among actors. Scott continued to work in prominent roles into his later years, despite facing health issues, including a series of heart attacks. He passed away in 1999 due to a ruptured abdominal aortic aneurysm. Scott was buried in an unmarked grave, reflecting perhaps a desire for privacy and tranquility away from the public eye, even in death. Fred Gwynne. Fred Gwynne, born in 1926 in New York, was an actor, artist, and author widely recognized for his role as Herman Munster in the 1960s television series The Munsters. Gwynne's towering height and distinctive voice contributed to his memorable performances in both comedic and dramatic roles, including notable appearances in films like Pet Sematary and My Cousin Vinny. In his later years, Gwynne focused more on his work as a painter and children's book author. He passed away in 1993 from complications of pancreatic cancer. Gwynne was interred in an unmarked grave in a cemetery in Maryland, a decision most likely influenced by his family's desire for privacy and his legacy. Doris Day. Doris Day was born in 1922 in Cincinnati, Ohio. She was an actress, singer, and animal welfare activist whose wholesome image and mellifluous voice made her one of the biggest stars in the 1950s and 60s. With hits like Que Sera Sera and roles in films like Pillow Talk and Calamity Jane, Day became synonymous with the kind of sunny, resilient femininity. In her later years, she largely retreated from public life, dedicating herself to animal welfare through the Doris Day Animal Foundation. She passed away in 2019 at age 97 after contracting pneumonia. True to her private nature, Day was buried in an unmarked grave as per her wishes in Carmel Valley, California. Denver Pyle. Denver Pyle, born in 1920 in Colorado, was an American film and television actor, best known for his role as Uncle Jesse Duke in the hit series The Dukes of Hazzard. Pyle's career was characterized by a wide range of roles, often portraying rural or Western characters, and he became a familiar and beloved face on American television. In his later years, Pyle continued to act while also dedicating time to charitable activities. He passed away from lung cancer in 1997. He was buried in an unmarked grave in Texas, perhaps reflecting a wish for simplicity and privacy in his final resting place, aligning with the unpretentious, genuine characters he often played. Now it's time to hear from you. Who are you most surprised was on this list? Let us know in the comments section below.